Yeah. Anyway, I think another thing is 14 story that got me. It's not even that 14 story, it's just that the characters in 14. You know, I like everyone in this chat knows I like Yatsu. It's not a secret. I'm like the number one, if not only Yatsuhashi fan in the entire fandom. But like, well, I guess Western side. But like, something I will say, just that each character in DDC suffers somehow, not somehow, but they each
Yeah,
have
because
some
there's
form of like,
there's like 3 factions, right?
yeah, there's 3
And even
factions
then,
there,
the first faction is not that well connected in the slightest.
okay, I'm going to counter and argue that, but later on. We have the Grassroots, we have the Sukumos, I guess we have the Thunder Beasts. I'm going to call them Thunder Beasts. I always call them Thunder Beasts. We have the Thunder Beasts, and we have Shimi and Seija. The common theme in 14 is a feeling of, I guess, inadequacy, like not big enough. Like, the Grassroots, literally the whole reason they're together is that because they don't want to die, because they're weak yokai, so they just kind of like, they don't. The Grassroots don't even like share really information. They literally just kind of talk to you. It's like a support group almost, right?
That is a very interesting way. Because for me, Touhou 12 or Touhou 14 is about like corruption.
Power corrupts,
it's that idea of like flipping. That's why in gameplay, like the first 4 stages actually of 14 are in clear homage to the Windows games, but something is different.
I think
because you have a mermaid instead of you have a mermaid. You have the corruption of you have a previously eastern location with the bamboo forest, but now you have a western encounter with a werewolf. You have a yokai in disguise as a human instead of a yokai who's trying to protect the humans. And then instead of a clear sky like in 7, you have the stormy sky. So it's playing with the idea of meta-narrative of like, because the idea is society's being turned on its head. So it's like, this is the Touhou you like and know from the previous games, specifically Windows Gen 1, but it's being corrupted in some way.
I think Shimi and Seija said it best. It's like, it's the weak overturning the strong. Like, even then, I do get where you're coming from. Power corrupts. I think how the power corrupts comes from the hero side, because have you ever gotten in 14's bad endings?
Probably. It's just been so long.
Here's what happens. So if you ever felt Marissa and Sakia act off in their A routes, because they do.
Yeah, because they're being possessed essentially, right?
No, it's because their item that's being put that has the magical power. It's amplifying their it's amplifying their trait. I guess in the sense it's amplifying the one trait that gives them power. With Marissa, it's her like lack of like restraint and just like impulsivity to just like go full power, which is why she always wants to burn things. In Sakia, it's her like, again, it's her like will to like want to cut things, want to like freaking do things precisely, like that stuff, and it just amplifies that by 100. It's like their dream selves almost, right?
Yeah.
The only one who's unaffected by this is Reimu, because she was taught as a shrine maiden. This is explained in her like A route ending. She was unaffected by her Gohei because she's the shrine maiden training. You have mental training to like not focus on your desires and stuff, and not let like stuff corrupt you and stuff. That's why he remains the same in both her routes. In the bad endings though, Marissa gets convinced by I think this is her. Oh, this is even her good ending too. Marissa basically just like loses sight of what she was doing and decides to just attack with a bunch of like random yokai just for the sake of it, right? Same with Sakia. But I think something interesting is that Marissa's good ending. She gets so overtaken by her mini Hakaro that Seija is able to convince her to restart the uprising, and that's her good ending. And that's such a weird good ending, because like, it is power corrupts, but that's mainly goes for heroes. For the characters, to me, it was always that like, I feel like being inadequate isn't always a bad thing, or like it's some sort of feeling of inadequacy, because like we have the Sukumos who were kind of like forgotten about, and they were given like power, but even then they're still like nothing compared to the incident resolvers. We have Yatsuhashi, who I've got a 9-page document about why she fits the team.
That's really interesting, because I feel like Yeah, because you're coming more from a storytelling perspective. I'm coming more from, like, a design, like a game design perspective, so it's like, the difference in perspective between, like, ludonarrative versus, like, the actual text itself.
Yeah.
I think it's both now.
Yeah. And then we have the... Well, I never really got to finish my sentence about the grassroots. They're just... They're not anything special, if that... And that sounds mean, but, like... In the end of the day, they're just a support group. They're just friends at the end of the day, because, like... You know, the weak go together, but, like, in the end... Does that really matter if you're weak or strong? What does matter is, like, having strong connections, having people in the world who, like... Even though you're weak, you're just willing to protect or, like, stand by in the end of the day. And that's why the grassroots are so cool. And then same with the Tsukumos, like, they're not even, it's common knowledge, they're not sisters, but, like, they have a shared experience. So, yeah.
Okay, that got you. Oh, man.
Right. Yeah. That's just, and everyone knows the story about Seija and Shimi. And to just touch on them, I do believe that Seija genuinely did care for Shimi, if that meant anything. Because I know a lot of people go thinking that Shimi was just being used by Seija, and even the characters in the story do come to that conclusion. But in the end, you see Impossible Spell card. Shimi was the next straw that broke the camel's back that caused Seija to, like...
Yeah, the big quote in 14.3 is when Shimi offers to take Seija back, and Seija says, "Look, I appreciate your offer, like, really, I actually do." It's like, just that acknowledgement she gives no one else in the game. Everyone knows how I feel about that relationship.
And I think
I literally have that
straight up.
relationship on my resume, because everyone knows how I feel about it.
I think that goes to show that I feel like in the end of the day, it comes to, like, Seija's nature as, like, a Monokaiju, just needing to be a contrarian to everything, just needing to be the bad guy in that sense. She's incapable of having good relations, which, funnily enough, makes her the antithesis to 14's whole faction idea, because the grassroots, they're bound together to be a friendship. The Tsukumos, they're bound to a feeling of shared experience and, like, familial bonds, found family. Seija, she has a bond with Shimi, it's there, but she's, due to her nature being contrarian, she's unable to, like, forge that relationship with her. Thus, even though they are the third faction of 14, are they really a faction if one of the members doesn't even have that feeling of, like, friendship? But she does have that feeling of friendship with Shimi. She's just, on a fundamental level, it's paradoxical for her to even have that. And I think that's what makes 14's cast so cool. People always see that they're so disjointed, but, like, that's kind of the point. The grassroots have no reason to interact with Tsukumos, neither vice versa. But what matters is that the grassroots are with the grassroots, the Tsukumos with the Tsukumos. That's their relationship, that's their bond. While they may be weak yokai on their own, together they are strong. This is just me going off of the tangent, sorry.
Now, I'm probably gonna upload this as its own video now.
Oh my god. But, yeah, 14's cast is really strong. If you, like, when you actually, like, look at this, what 14's trying to say. And, and in the end of the day, Seija does form a relationship with Shimi. While, sure, her like, habits, her nature still shows, and she's still trying to, like, say, oh, I don't really care for her. At the end of the day, she gives her the acknowledgement in ISC. He does hang out with her.
Yeah,
in
GOS, is that what we call it?
Yeah, and she does technically live in the castle post 14. She's still there. She's still with Shimi. They still have a relationship.
I think the GOS one is... I think specifically it's when she meets Sagame, because she's like, I really need to stick by her, because interesting things always happen.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember. And also,
And
I
then-
love how, in GOS, the thing about Shimmy talking in reverse to Seiya is actually canon.
Oh my god.
That was like something I wrote for... That was something I wrote for the Inverted Heart, thinking that's just how it would naturally go, and it turns out, no, that's actually canon.
And I think that just goes to show how good-natured Shimmy is. Like, even despite being tricked.
Yeah, and like, yeah, she's the one person who can become friends with Seiya.
She sees the good in people, whether they be weak or strong, whether they've tricked her, used her, whatever. She sees the good in Seiya, despite everyone else, because she understands, again, shared experience. She knows what it's like to be weak. She knows that Seiya isn't like that. While it is her nature to be a Monokazu and be a jerk, it is in her nature, fundamentally, she means well. I think this is gonna be so. To people who know what I'm talking about, this is gonna ring so true. But I think Vector Spectacle had it right when Shimmy and that said that the Seiya who wanted to overturn the world for the sake of the weak, that was, I believe that Seiya truly meant what she was saying, telling me, and it wasn't all lies. And I think that is what makes Seiya such a cool character, because like, despite her being a funny reverse lady, evil woman, he does mean well. He does have good intentions. At the end of the day. And well, thank you for coming to my TED talk about why 12 and 14 are like peak Touhou, and I'm not biased whatsoever. Also, read my document about Yatadashi Tsukumo, because I'm not going down on stream, or else we'll be here for another hour.
I'll link it in the description if that's okay.
Yeah, you could.
Can we talk about Raiko now?